What we got here today, we got a Mako V-58 and a Mako V-5000. I want to explain the difference to you. To start with, this is the V-58 here. It's a black insulator. It's good for 1500 watts. This one here is the V-5000. It's exactly the same, except it's got a white Teflon insulator and it'll handle 5,000 watts. Now what I want people to know is there is a clone out there made overseas, and it's got a white insulator, but it looks like it's kind of twisted here and pinched, and sometimes they send our instructions out with them, and that antenna doesn't work very well. So when they call it, so you want to make sure when you get a Mako that you've got, it looks exactly like this here, white or black, it don't make any difference, okay? I'm going to take you over here now and explain what we're going to go through today and what I hope to accomplish. One of the biggest problems with this Mako V-58 and V-5000, we have customers calls up, they say they have a problem, they say they can't get the SWR down. The biggest problem, 98% of the time, is the hoop ring, and the other 2% of the time is their equipment. And I'm going to explain how we're going to do it here. When you have an antenna, at this antenna here, you got channel 1, channel 20, and channel 40. Channel 20 is in the middle. The RF, there's an RF curve. You want the curve right where you're going to talk, because that's the lowest part of the standing wave would be like 1 to 1, and then it's going to curve up. So that's how you want the curve, is where you're going to talk. If you get a curve that's different, that maybe is like this, then you have to adjust the length of the antenna, and we're going to go into that, okay? But this is the curve that we're going to achieve. When we get it correct, the lowest will be on channel 20, and on channel 1 and 40 will be about a 1 to 2, but they'll both be equal. If the SWR is not equal on 1 and 40, that means that your curve is not set right in the middle. So we're going to show you how to do that. And here's what we're going to be looking at today. I'm going to go over this again too. This is the overall length of the antenna is from the very tip to the very bottom. The bottom is, get me a base. Get me a base, Clarence, please. It's from the top of the antenna clear down to here. Now most people, okay, you go from the very top to right to here. Most people measure to here and they think it's too short, and that isn't right. And why I've got this antenna here, I want to show you something else, how you can distinguish our antennas. Years ago when I bought Mako, they had trouble with it. With high winds, 100-mile-an-hour winds, it would break here. If you look up inside here, we have an extra piece of aluminum. So this is actually not just one piece, there's 2 pieces in here, and we haven't had one broke. One hasn't broken since probably 2005. I've never had another one break. We've never told people that's what's up in there, but if you look, you can see it, okay? So the overall length is going to be 248 from the very top to the very bottom. There's going to be a 1-inch air gap in the hoop ring. We're going to go through that. And the copper wire is going to be 6 1/4 inches from the splice. And when you set this antenna, the overall length is the coarse adjustment for the SWR. It's the vertical here, okay? When we get down to the copper wire and the hoop ring, that's the fine SWR adjustment, okay? And here's another big thing that we get a call on. People put a meter on the antenna and they say it's shorted out, okay? This antenna, the way it's designed, it will show a dead short when it's put together, but it's not a dead short for RF, okay? Now we're going to go over here and we're going to start putting one together a little bit, a little sample. Clarence is going to do that. He's been making these things half of his life, well, not half of his life, but a while, okay? Go ahead. This is a mass pipe, and you know it's going to be mounted on your top of your house or what, but there's a clamp that goes here. We're not going to put that on yet that tightens it up until we get it done, because we're going to take it off. So you want to go ahead and install the hoop ring?
Let's remove this bolt here first.
That's all pre-drilled.
There's a little lock washer. Take this bolt and through the hole.
I'll get your wrench.
Lock washer. I think we lost something.
Okay, Tom. Now this is the secret to the whole antenna making it work. It's one of them. This is the one that everybody misses. Not everybody. We've already assembled the hoop ring. It comes in two pieces here. We've already assembled it in the back. It goes together, you can see like this here in the back. Okay? And it's made that way so it'll fit in the box. All right?
Kind of difficult.
Your fingers are too big.
All right, well.
I'll make edits here, so don't worry about the part.
I'm going to set this one down. You got it for a minute?
And let me get this
Okay.
started. I think it'd be a little easier doing it this way.
Yeah. Okay.
Now we got it.
Okay. Now this is the upper bar here. One side has got a hole in it, one doesn't. It's pretty self-explanatory. This is going to go up like this. This is going to fasten on there eventually, but he's going to mount this on here first, this hoop ring.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and get this on there, then we'll center it.
Give me
This antenna's been around since the 60s. It's older than everybody here except me.
Okay.
It was originally Wilson antennas. They're well known. They're still in business today. Okay, go ahead and tighten that up back there now. What we're going to do, we're going to center the hoop ring on here. Okay, and then we're going to have an inch air gap here. I'll show you. That's important. Now the only thing, when you have this antenna up in the air, you get it good and tight. We're not going to measure. You got that together over there?
Yep.
You got an inch, you can just bend this up a little bit or something. Or you can move it up, yeah.
Yeah, that's about an inch right there.
Okay. The only thing that'll ever mess this up, I've had that happen one time, guy had a big eagle come up and lit on it, and it squeezed it together. I said, I can't do nothing about a eagle. Okay. Now, you got this tight in here.
Now, it kind of turned on us a little bit.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and
Yeah, tighten her up.
tighten her up more.
And now install the wire. Now this wire goes out here. It comes 6 1/4 inches from the center of this splice here. This is important, okay? This is the fine adjustment here.
I need that screwdriver again. Missing the bottom hole, Tom. Tom,
What?
missing the bottom hole there.
Okay, well, that's your job. I tell people when they buy these antennas, don't be in a hurry. Take your time. Some people, the UPS truck will come at 5 o'clock and they want to be talking on at 6. And that usually just doesn't work because they get in too big a hurry putting something together. You put this together to last you the rest of your life, so it's really important to put it together right the first time.
Okay, now we need to move this down.
Okay?
I have a mark here, 6 1/4 inches
Yeah, he's pre-marked it.
from here to here. Okay,
Now we're going to center this up a little bit. You're not centered. Okay. Now you're centered. Now you need to tighten these up here.
now we need to tighten them.
Well, now we're going to tighten everything up. You pretty well got the inch. You leave everything kind of loose and you get it close. And the last thing you do is you go tighten everything up, okay? We're tighten. Oh, we're swinging down here, that's why. Okay. And is that tight?
Yep.
Okay. Now here's another thing. Now this is the best coax connector I can buy. But water runs downhill. So this is soldered in here. Water shouldn't run in, but water gets here. And if you get a hurricane or something, water weeps. So the best thing with these, water doesn't run uphill. You just take it and put a drip loop down, put it down like that, because water's only going to get what you get here. All right. So that's basically, that's put together. Go get the coax and the coax seal, Clarence.
Okay.
We have a spider that goes on here. This is a spider that goes on here. Get a wrench. It goes a 1/2 inch down from here. These are where the radials are going to go on. This is your receive that's going to go on here. We're not going to put them on here because we're probably going to go outside and we're going to put them on out there so you can see it. But it's 0 out there right now. Okay. Where's the radials at for the bottom? Here?
Yep.
Okay. We're going to install one radial for the bottom here. That's a clamp in there. We've already put it on. Tighten this one up, Clarence. We might be making this look easy, but we put together hundreds of these, testing them and doing everything else, haven't we?
Yes.
Hey, I want this turned away from the coax there a little.
Okay, we'll turn that here in
Yeah.
a second.
That's supposed to be a 1/2 inch down from the bottom of this bracket here. This here is.
Okay.
See, from this bracket right here, 1/2 inch. We're going to take it off to take it outside probably, so it's,
Got enough room there?
yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I'll show them how you we'll put the radials on. These are all pre-marked. We've marked them already. They're stuck in 4 inches here. No, 6 inches.
These are 4.
4, okay.
Yeah.
We've got them already marked here. We marked that first. Okay. What you want?
That Phillips.
Yeah.
Okay.
And why you...
We go to this one next because I don't want it to tip over. on us.
Okay. Might hit me on the head.
Okay. Slide it up to the line right there.
This is the receive for the antenna. And when you put this antenna together, you're setting it up, you really need these on here or you'll have trouble setting it.
Okay.
Now, I'm doing this for, we don't do this until we're ready to talk on the antenna, putting it together. But screw that coax scanner up on there, Clarence. And grab that coax seal off over there. Put it on. This is coax seal. Water can get up in here and it can weep down through here a little bit. And if it starts weeping, it'll go all the way down your radio and that'll cause standing wavers, something like that. So we put the coax seal on here.
Start at the top or?
All the way to the bottom and all the top up here is where it comes on. Want me to do it? Your fingers are pretty big. This is like a rubber plumber's tape. Pull her tight, work her up all the way to the top. It's real important to get it right up to the top of the threads there because that's where the water is going to weep around. It's going to go in the threads. Water will weep if there's... You got to go all the way to the top.
Yeah, it's kind of tight in there. Just basically wrap it around and then just work it in.
It's got to be tight. It's got to go all the way up. Okay? Hang on to that. Yeah. Probably better off starting at the top if you want to. Get another one out. We'll start at the top. Okay? I'll just leave this one on here. We'll start at the top here. Right up at the top. See it? All the way. And work your way around. It gets a little messy in here, but if you feel it's rubber and it's stretchy and it's sticky. I'm not having... Okay, first one's the hardest one, and I'm right-handed, it should be over there.
It's kind of sticking there.
Let me over there once. Get closer to it here. Okay. This is not a good example of what I'm doing here, but it's what this does here. It isn't always the prettiest when you get done, but it's important that you get it covered right up at the top here. See this right here? Water down here don't really hurt that much, but you can work it up there, cover all the holes up. Now basically, that's the assembly of the antenna except for the clamp that goes on here. And I'm going to do that till we put it outside. It'll hold it straight. And then we put the radials on each one here. So Clarence is going to go ahead and you want to assemble the radial vertical and we can carry it out. He's got it pre-marked. I'll carry this out of your way a little bit. Most things, people when they work with electricity,
Yeah, go ahead.
they think that there's something short that don't work. If you look, this antenna on a voltometer will show a dead short, okay? Now, see that? Shows a short. It's a short, but it's not a short for RF. So I have people call me up and say it shows a short. It's supposed to be shorted, but for radio frequency, it's not, okay?
Okay.
The biggest problem with this antenna is you look where the hoop ring is. It's on the bracket. When you're looking straight at it, it goes to the right, around the back, counterclockwise, and uphill to the top. Now, actually, if the hoop ring is on, a lot of people put the hoop ring on backwards. They go this way and come up, and it won't work. It'll work, but it won't tune. It won't turn well, okay? And the reason being they do that is because the hole's on this side. It looks like it should go that way. But this is the proper way. And it won't work correctly the other way, and you'll be unhappy with it. Real unhappy. So that's our biggest problem when people call. They got it on backwards. This here is the clamp. It's aluminum, and you take it and you squeeze it and you make it oblong, and you stick a nut inside there and a bolt, and that holds against the mast pipe, okay? Now we have this antenna ready to go right now, and we're going to tune it. Okay? Come over here and look at this meter. What I've got, according to factory specs, is nothing else. This thing is a standing wave at 1 to 2 at 55 ohm at 27,444. That's the resident frequency right now. So we want to drop this frequency down a couple hundred meg. So we have to do that by lengthening the antenna maybe a half an inch. So we're going to do that. Okay, tip it up.
Yep.
Okay, now when you set this antenna, it's a vertical antenna, so the ground does affect it, and so does the trees and the lines and the vehicles we got around it. So for best results, you'd want to get it up 10 feet. We have lengthened this antenna 1/2 inch, and before the resonant frequency was on 27, what, 4 something?
Yeah.
And we've lengthened it we've lengthened it what, a half an inch about?
Half inch.
Yeah. And at 27,200 we got an SWR of 1.3 at 50 ohms. We probably need to lengthen it just a little bit more to drop this 27 down. Let's drop it one more half an inch, and then that'll be it. We'll be right on there. Now here's another thing too. We can do this. You can adjust this wire a little bit. This wire doesn't do much, okay? We're pretty close. This antenna is able to be used right now. But you got a wrench here. Let's move that wire 1/4 of an inch, and we'll show you what it does. That wire doesn't do much. I have people call me up and got wire over here. They got them all over. Well, that don't work. Okay.
Moved it this direction about 1/4 of an inch. Right now it's like 16
Okay.
and a half inches.
Okay, now back away.
6 and a half.
Okay, now when you're close to the antenna, this is called the near field. And when you're in the near field touching it, it doesn't work. It makes the antenna work perfectly. You got to be farther away for the far field, and it should be higher. I should have a longer piece of coax, but right now we've adjusted the wire a little bit, and the resonant frequency is 1 point. Let's see. I'm at 1, 2 at 27. 27,400 now. So for that, if that's the case, I think instead of to try to tune it a little bit better, that wire did not do that much. It never does. It might do it the only. This is just a brief update and a final closure of our video on how to put the V-58 together. This is a miniature one that we take to radio shows, but the only thing that's miniature is from here up. Everything down here is, and I guess these, the receive radios are shortened, but the base itself that does all the guts of this antenna is right here in the important things. Okay, I'm going to go over and show you one thing that can happen is water seeps down. So if water gets right here, we have a cap on this, not this one because this is an older one. We got epoxy on there to close that up in case water would set there and seep down. But one of the things you want to do with this wire here, you want to come up and then you want to bend it down. And what that does, that creates a drip loop. So if the water gets there, it's going to run downhill and it'll run away. It won't drip down in. And the same thing here with the coax. We send coax seal to put that on. But if you put it like this, the water's going to go right downhill. So there's a couple ways you can do it. You can this is a smaller coax, you can run it up and back down because water is only going to seek its level. Or this one here, you could come out here and tape it to the bracket right here and then run it back. And you got the drip loop. If it rains 2 or 3 inches, that's all the water's going to get in there. It'll seep down and that'll dry up. But if you got it down like this and you got 100 feet of coax, it's going to run all the way down your Radio Shack, and your SWR is going to go up. It's going to go up until it dries. Now, if you got it like this, it'll dry out pretty rapidly. But if it goes all the way 100 feet down, it don't. Now, water, everything is they're fastened together tight, but with condensation, sometimes it gets in. All the water gets down here in these joints here. You don't need to put anything on there, because it'll run right on the inside. It'll run straight through to the bottom, and it'll run right out the bottom, wherever you got it mounted. Okay? And this bracket, it's important here that it goes on this way. I brought another one here. You can see this hole's on this side. If you switch it this way, okay, then the hole would be on this side, and that's the way they used to make it years ago. But about 30 years ago, they changed it like that. So that's why the hole's over here, because the die's never been switched. But this is the proper way when you're looking straight in it. It's got to go to the right. It's got to go uphill with this inch air gap and fasten it there, okay? And the only thing to do to adjust this antenna, it's the overall length. You take the standing weight of 140, and it'll come out to 248 inches is the way you put it together, okay? Take channel 120 and 40, and you got a graph. You put a graph there, 120 and 40. This is the RF curve that you got there. You want to set on, no matter what you're going to talk on, you got to get it working to make sure that you don't have other problems with your radio or coax. It should be lowest on 20, and on 1 and 40 it should be a little bit higher, maybe 1.1 here and maybe 1.2 here. If you got a slant like this here, I mean, it's higher on channel 1, or low. The SWR is lower on 1, and it goes like this. That means that you got to shorten your antenna. And when you shorten your antenna, because the one's up here, it'll drive, you shorten the antenna, it'll drive that SR standing wave down here. So you just move it until you get it centered like that. If when you put it together, you got like a 2, or a 2 all the way across, then you've got a problem with your length, or your coax could have a short in it, or it could be your linear, it could be anything. So when you set this antenna up, you make sure you take everything out but the radio and the antenna. If you got an analyzer, that's better yet, use that. And you don't plug anything in till the antenna is set there. But if you got 222 or 333, you definitely have a problem, and it's not with this antenna. This antenna's been made the same way for 50 years. The only thing that's been proved is better quality of material. The wall thickness is bigger. All the specs are the same like it was when it was designed by the engineers years ago. And here's another thing on this radial thing here. You set, it's a ½ inch between this bracket right here and this ring here, the receive radials. If you don't put that on there, you put it down, that'll affect your SWR, okay? And this is here's your mounting ring. So when you put it together, this is loose here because we move it, we take it out of the bracket. You just squeeze it together and tighten it up, and that's what'll hold it there. And if you go through all of these things, and here's another thing too. There is videos on YouTube that are wrong. They got the bracket going the other way, and they got this here, the wire over here. The standing wave don't work. And then they call me up, and the easiest way for this to happen is follow the instructions, read them through, and the last guy that called, he had it put together, and his wife announced that and looked and says, you got your hoop ring on backwards. So pay attention to what you're doing. When you put this antenna together, you don't need 3 or 4 guys, because everybody's got a different opinion. You read the instructions yourself. You can assemble this yourself, and then when you go to put it up, help them. But a lot of guys say, well, this is the way we did it. Well, maybe that's the way you did it 50 years ago, but this is the correct way, and this does work. And there's probably not a day go by we get somebody's got a hoop ring that's on backwards here. It goes the other way. And when you call me for troubleshooting, I'm going to ask you the standing W wave on 1, 20, and 40. And by that there, I will be able to tell you what your problem is and how to fix it, okay? Now, a lot of people they're electricians, they say, well, I put a meter from the ground to the antenna, and it says it's a short. The way this antenna is designed, it's a short, but it's not a short for RF. Now, these antennas are made with the black insulator, which will take 1,500 watts, probably more if put through it, and the white one will take 5,000. I've had people call here. There's people that sell a clone out there called the W-58, and a lot of times they put my instructions with it, and them things will not tune correctly. And I have people send me pictures, and if it's a white insulator, and there's a little swedge mark down here where they swedge it together, and that's why I have you send the pictures and make sure you got my antenna to start with, because if you got one of them other ones, you're going to fight it, and you're never going to get it. So the questions we ask you when you call are going to be the questions that we need to make it work, because I've never had one of these that won't work, but I've had a lot of them put them together, and there's a lot of people out there, well, I did this 40 years ago, so things have changed, but you follow the instructions. And if you can't get it, when you get the curve here, if you move it one way, you take your readings and it's wrong, if you don't remember which way to go, then go the other way. Put a Sharpie marker there and move it a ½ inch up and take a reading. You write it down. If it got worse, then you go back to the Sharpie marker and take it down 1 inch. And that way you follow, this curve will go right in there. Now, when you get this 6 1/4 inches, people think, well, I'm going to finally tune it in here. The coarse adjustment is on the length. This is fine adjustment. It doesn't do a lot. But the other day, I had somebody had this thing way out here, and on channel 120 and 40, or he was the same all the way across. He was 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2, or between 120 and 40. Now, that's fine. But he could have got it better. He could have got it down to 1, 1. So this controls the bandwidth a little bit. This here, maybe 1/4 inch is all you need to move it. But that's the last thing you do. Don't put it together. If it don't work, don't start moving that. That's the very last thing. That's the final adjustment. And that's all there is. And if you got any questions how to put it together, call 815-244-3500 and KRI will answer the phone. And if we can't answer you what's wrong, first thing we'll tell you when you get the readings is your hoop ring's probably on backwards. But if we can't quite figure it out, we'll have you send us a picture with your phone, send it to us, and then we look at it and we call you back, or you call it back, and we get it going. I've never had one of these antennas don't work. They've been made by the same people here for about 10 years, and they do work. Give me a call if you got trouble. Because a lot of you's got really good ideas out there, and I do appreciate hearing them.